big story which I'm sure everyone has seen and has been quite shocked with. Former United States President Donald Trump, after a day after he survived an assassination bid, has called upon Americans to stand united. Now, the FBI has termed it an assassination bid, and it's also investigating it as a potentially domestic terror act. Remember, Trump was speaking at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, when loud noises were heard in the crowd on Saturday evening. He appeared to have been struck by something in his right ear as he was speaking, and a fraction of a second later, he was seen ducking down to the ground, almost simultaneously swamped by security agents as a shield. Trump was then quickly escorted from the stage and onto this vehicle just before he had his fist clenched, saying, "Fight, fight," amidst chances of USA. This imagery, according to many political experts, is now being seen as the defining moment of the US presidential elections.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you.
Ready?
Move.
Up.
Move. Come on.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes on.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down. Get the shoe.
Watch out.
Wait.
Now, the shooter reportedly had explosives in his car. US President and Trump's rival Joe Biden has called on temperatures in politics to be lowered. Listen in to the president's first statement.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're our fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Goer was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled it before throughout our history.
Now, the shooter in this case who was killed by the snipers, according to the FBI, is a 20-year-old named Thomas Matthew Crooks. He has been identified as a registered Republican. The motive behind the shooting, though, is not known yet. Videos emerged on social media of Secret Service snipers in action right after the first shots were fired by the assassin. One of the two snipers who were placed on the roof of the building near the rally stage is seen raising his head, having possibly spotted the shooter. The snipers then open fire and eliminate the man in a matter of seconds. But then there are huge concerns over what is being looked at as a clear security lapse, raising questions on the ability and the intent of the Secret Services. An eyewitness speaking to the BBC has claimed that he was among those who had seen the accused crawling on the roof with a rifle, but claims the police did not act despite being informed.
probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle, absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police are like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him, he's crawling.
Now, the Trump campaign launched a fundraiser for the victims caught in the crossfire of the attempted assassination on the ex-president's life. Remember, one person did die while 2 others were critically injured. And now the Republican National Convention, where Trump will be named the official Republican candidate, will be taking place on the 18th of this month.
Currently, there are no known articulated threats against the RNC or anyone visiting the RNC. That's important because we also need the help of the public. If they see something during this time or feel uncomfortable with something, please let us know. Let your local law enforcement agencies know, or the FBI. 1-800 call the FBI.
Now, my colleague Sneha spoke to Dr. John Harrison, a Homeland Security expert, about the assassination bid. Listen into an excerpt from that conversation.
In fact, if I can just get in Dr. John Harrison at this point. Dr. John Harrison, while there has been huge appreciation for how the Secret Service agents swung into action, swamped Donald Trump, rushed him off into his vehicle, guarded him, there's huge appreciation for that. There are also questions being raised at this point. There are eyewitnesses who have come on record and have said that, listen, we had seen this person on the roof and he was crawling roof to roof, and we had alerted the police. How is the security establishment looking at these eyewitnesses' account? Are there huge concerns that are now at the forefront as well?
Oh, well, there certainly will be huge concerns, and I don't think anybody would, in the right mind, would criticize the Secret Service agents how they responded. They are the best of the best and some of the bravest. What the question will be is, how did something so obvious be overlooked, including the fact that the counter-sniper teams were actually looking at that location. So, I mean, it's as a layman in operational security terms, it immediately jumped to me. It's how do you not have local law enforcement either on the roof itself, or if there's a concern for communications, making sure that rooftop is not accessible to anybody. It's always unclear at any of these events when eyewitnesses say, well, they told somebody and law enforcement didn't seem to be responding. We don't know actually at this point how they were responding. And it's very dangerous for law enforcement to send somebody up onto a roof that may or may not have a potential active shooter that is being covered by another agency. You would not want to put that law enforcement person's life at any more risk simply because it would be poor communication when an officer is charging onto a scene to try to see if there is a threat there. But that will be the biggest, I think, concern, is how did something that appeared to be this obvious, and at least, as I said, from an operational layman's terms, that it got overlooked, or at least it only had one layer of security. And I think that's really the biggest key. The Secret Service always has a layer
Dr.
after
John
layer
Harrison,
of
is it about the fact that there was only one layer of security, but also the fact that now emerges from the different assessments that have been made by different people based on the eyewitness accounts and based also on the locations that have eventually emerged, what seems to be just a 200-meter difference between where the former president was speaking as well as where the shooter seemed to have positioned himself. It seems to be, at least from the records that we are seeing, just about 200 meters. How could a house, a group of houses in a very, very small location like that go unmarked? That's a big question, isn't it?
It's a huge question, and it's one that the Secret Service to date has obviously not answered or not addressed at all. And as you saw, the statements from the FBI have been quite diplomatic in directing those comments back to the Secret Service. That's going to be